This is Danny Frank for GNAT-TV. We have a very interesting show today. It focuses around Wednesday, July 21st, at the Images Cinema in Williamstown, Massachusetts. The Images Cinema is one of those great traditional indie cinemas, neighborhood community cinemas that are really loved and treasured by many people in the acting community. And we're going to talk about this special event on July 21st with Doug Jones, who is the executive director of the Images Cinema, and Tara Westwood, who was a very noted actress from television, movies, and plays, and Elias Plagianos, a prominent indie director and producer of TV and movies. So, Elias, what do we have going at the Images Cinema on July 21st? Why don't you kick it off?
Sure. Well, we are so excited to have a sneak preview of our TV pilot called Hudson Falls. It was produced independently the first week that production was allowed to happen again in New York State. And it was a really exciting, scary time. But we felt we had a really strong story, and we were able to attract some really top name talent like Richard Kind, Tara, Jessica Hecht, William Sadler, Robert Burke, Chike Okonkwo. And the way we did it was very unique. We decided the only safe, responsible way to do a production back then was to use absolutely no crew. We sort of leaned on some new modern technology, and our set was really just the actors, the producers, a sound recordist, and our director of photography. So what you will all see in a few short weeks is just a real labor of love that was produced in a time that was very strange and unique.
Now, Tara Westwood, I've seen you in movies, I've seen you on television, and as I understand it, you wear several hats in this production of Hudson Falls, right?
I do. I was so thrilled when Elias asked me to come on board, and I mean, essentially, I'm an actor on it, and I'm a producer on it, but as Elias said, we were all wearing multiple hats. So, when I'm not in a scene, when I was in a scene, say with Richard, for example, I would be powdering him between takes or checking his hair. And when I'm not in a scene, there's a scene with Bill Sadler and Chike where I was on the ground holding the reflector. I was on foot for the actors. I had, each of their powder brushes in my back pocket. So yes, we were all wearing multiple hats, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was a lot of work, no question, but I felt that it really brought us all together in a pretty special way as well.
So with COVID, going back probably to February 2020, many people in entertainment, whether they're actors, stagehands, directors, producers, writers, lighting, set designers, they've been in large measure unemployed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really difficult for everyone, I think. So that was one of the wonderful things, to be able to be working again. I remember when Jessica Hecht came to set, and she knew Robert Burke and she knew Richard, and to see the three of them come together, and they were just so thrilled to be able to be practicing their craft again, because it had been so long for everyone that, as sad as it was that so many people weren't working and we hadn't been to that point, that also brought a real special feeling on set. Everyone there was just so grateful to be working,
Prior to this, there were a lot of frustrations, I guess, preparing for this so differently, and the diligence that was involved with the COVID standards, and developing, breaking ground with the Screen Actors Guild, right? Can you give us some of that flavor or that behind the scenes
well, at the time, it was really difficult to get a COVID test and have results back within 72 hours, which is what the union was requiring. Because I mean, we were the epicenter of the pandemic at that point. So you couldn't walk into a city MD and get a test and get your results back before 7 to 10 days. So that was, I would say, I mean, Elias certainly knows of myriad other struggles that we had within production, but that was a huge part of just getting into production, was finding a way to get our cast and crew safely tested with a PCR test that would come back in time. So the union was not letting us know which tests they would give us. Abbott at that point was keeping their tests for medical workers. So we were able to, I found this other test that had a better accuracy rate than what the NBA was using. And we were able to reach out to SAG and ultimately get approval from them to pass a new test to be used within the union. So that's how we got to set, but it definitely was a lot of work.
Well, certainly, again, in fairness to the Screen Actors Guild and the other unions in theater and entertainment, this was all new. They didn't know what was going on. There was, you were like searching around, right?
Oh, as an actor, I was so grateful that our union was protecting us 100%. And when I had reached out to them with an email, I said, as an actor, I'm grateful you're protecting us. As a producer, I can assure you that I would never bring my friends, meaning, you know, Richard, Jess, Bobby, and everyone on set, unless I knew 100% that the cast and crew that we were there and Elias at the helm of that was going to make sure that everyone was protected. Like, there was not even a moment in my brain where I was worried about bringing those actors to set. So I felt very comfortable with that because I knew that Elias had done what was necessary and the other producers had done that to make sure everyone was safe.
Well, Elias and Tara, it sounds like, unlike generally where there's so many people on a movie or television set, that in this production, there were really only a couple of people doing the shooting, doing the lighting, doing the sound. What was that all about?
You know, I've been doing independent film and, you know, TV now for many years. And the one exciting thing is the opportunity to tell stories outside the system. And what I've learned is that in order to do these kind of projects, you have to do them for very cheap. And the technology has, you know, made it so that you could really do these projects and make them look like a real TV show or a real film with a very limited crew, as long as you have a small but just very skilled group who really care about the project, where, you know, they don't just show up for like a paycheck. And previous to this show, I shot a TV pilot for the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation called Distemper, where we created a world that was set in 1918, and the grant was only for $25,000. And then previous to that one, I shot a film in Cuba, Havana, with just local crew for only about 12,000. So this has been a long journey that I've, you know, taken, which is trying to do a lot with very limited financial resources, because I think that allows artists a certain level of freedom. And I think, you know, Tara's been on, you know, two of these now, and you know, it seems like how do you feel on these, like, you know, sets? Are they that much, you know, different than what you're used to on these big productions?
No, I mean, you know, they're certainly different. I remember when I did The Grudge, at some point I had said, just casually, I wasn't saying it too personally, it'd be really cool to hear what it would sound like if such and such happened. And then 6 hours later, 2 of the sound guys came back and they're like, Miss Westwood, we understand that you requested to hear this. And I'm like, wait, what? I didn't ask you to have a whole crew go out and do this. So there's that madness. And then there's what I've experienced on your sets, which is, okay, so the budget's not there for that. But again, the fact that everyone's coming together, I feel like it inherently makes us more passionate about what we're doing. And it doesn't take away from what you accomplish. Like, Distemper looks like it's worth so much more, or costs so much more money than what you did it with. It blows my mind. Hudson Falls as well. So you create, like, specifically you, because I've been on other low budget sets where that's not necessarily the case. The world that you create on your sets, I don't feel that it's any different than when I've been on a big budget set. it's just not. I feel everything that I need as an actor is there for me. I feel that you create a space where people have what they need, where we don't feel like we're lacking anything.
I think it like, affords the performers, it gives them room, like, they really feel like they're really part of it, and they're free to change things. And it feels almost like, we're doing like summer stock, or like, it's much more of a creative environment.
It feels like more of a team thing, as opposed to there being different levels of who everyone is. Just inherently, we come together more as a team. And I think that really helps with performance too, because it makes me as an actor feel safer. It makes me as an actor feel that I'm a part of something, as opposed to just there doing what I'm normally doing. I love it. Yeah,
you always know you're on one of my sets when there's no chairs and no trailers, because everyone's always on their feet. So,
Tara and Elias, it seems like technology in filmmaking and TV production has really advanced to the point where it has become much more inclusive and ecumenical, where so many people could be now making movies and TV because of the technology. And it's a whole new world versus being dependent and this being an elitist type industry reserved for mega studios, right?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I grew up in the suburbs of New York, and Hollywood could not be a more faraway place. But now it's really amazing. I mean, one of the reasons we decided to do this Hudson Falls experiment is to try and inspire young filmmakers, or just filmmakers in general. We used lenses that you could buy at your local store. We used a camera that is really not that expensive. We used autofocus. It was really a way to inspire people and say, listen, if you have a camera and what you want, there's an opportunity here. And I edited the entire project on my laptop. I did all the graphics, the sound, the editing. It affords you. I did the movie poster. I think, if you want to be a one-man band, Hollywood is really not that inviting, because they have a certain development system and certain checks and balances. So if you do enjoy doing all these different jobs the way I do, the amazing thing is the technology is there, and YouTube is there with a million tutorials. And it's just about finding the time, which is hard when you're an old man with 2 children. But
I agree with everything that Elias just said. If you have an iPhone right now, you can make a movie, but it's still hard. You can't scrimp on sound. You always need good sound. And where I think it's tough, though, still is getting it seen. That's where, screenings like we're doing in Williamstown is something that is so great, and hopefully word of mouth. I still think it's a lot easier now to make a film or a TV show. And yes, you can just put it on YouTube. So it's easier in that way to put it out there, but I still think it's difficult without, huge, crazy, huge names or a studio behind you to get it seen on the level in which you'd want to. But I hope that will also continue to change as independent people like Elias is talking about. As it becomes easier to produce it, hopefully it'll be easier to get it seen.
Elias and Tara, the dynamics of these screenings and sneak previews, why is Hudson Falls coming to Williamstown for the Images Cinema? Why is that going on July 21st?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of this journey was, we during the pandemic, we wanted to get creators creating again. So it's just like such a lovely bookend now, where now we're encouraging the audiences to come back into theaters and watch our work. And really the lifeblood, certainly of the type of work that I do, is the independent art house theater. I mean, it's just, there's nothing that's more special than sitting in a theater and watching your work or other people's work on a big screen. It's, growing up, I wasn't very religious, but the theater was my church. Like, I found out about who I was, who my neighbors were, their struggles. And so it's just so important. And I can't, stress enough how wonderful it is that we get to, screen at this lovely theater, and how we really are encouraging people to return to theaters in a safe way, which I feel that now it is safe.
I agree. I mean, especially after the past year we've had, I think what we're all missing is community. So to be able to go to the Images Cinema is just, as Elias said, a safe time where we are right now in this crazy pandemic, where we can go, and to be able to experience with a community like that, something that we've felt like such a wonderful little community making, is the perfect way to have it seen.
So Doug Jones, the Images Cinema has a special place, so to speak, in the Williamstown community. And it's similar to the role of a lot of indie theaters in a number of communities around the United States. But because of the economics and culturally, that role is shrinking perhaps throughout the United States. Your thoughts here, Doug Jones, on what we're doing with Hudson Falls here?
Well, I think it's a great example of what Images Cinema does all year long. I mean, we've been a movie theater. There's been a movie theater here in Williamstown at this address for over 100 years. There was a movie theater before there was a lot of the city that now surrounds us. So, I mean, and all along, we've been a community hub where people were coming together to watch movies, silent movies through the golden age of Hollywood to, nowadays. And, right now we've only been reopened for about a month. So, I mean, for over a year, that community hub, that idea that you could come together with your friends and family and neighbors and share some experience, some, big movie up on the big screen, we didn't have that. And just in the last month or so since we've been reopening, we've seen people coming back, and they're so excited to walk in the door and, see whoever's selling the tickets, and to smell the popcorn, and to run into the person they haven't seen for a year, and now they're here to watch In the Heights, at the same time. And it really is underscored what community theaters like Images can do. I mean, we're a place where people can come together. Sure, it's convenient to stay at home on your couch and watch stuff on your TV, but that only gets you a part of the whole experience of watching a story, of watching a film, or, a pilot episode of a new TV show or something like that. It's only when you come together and you share that experience that you get sort of like all the nuances, and you hear other people laughing or thinking or gasping or whatever it might invoke in them. So, I mean, we're thrilled. I'm really happy to have Hudson Falls coming here, because it's nice to be able to do something different. We show a lot of different movies, musicals, documentaries, foreign films, independent things. And so it's nice to be able to kind of like add something new to that mix of what we're offering up the Berkshires, to have, this kind of behind the scenes look at a TV production with the people who were there making it, talking about their experiences, and kind of getting people in on the ground floor of Hudson Falls. I mean, I think it's going to be, a special kind of night, and, we're going to have people are going to walk away knowing more about TV production and short films and how you have to get creative when the chips are down than they knew when they first come into the theater that night.
So Doug Jones, technology, again, home theaters, big giant home television screens, has that had an impact on the indie cinema theater, the neighborhood theater?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a very interesting time because so many things are in flux, from the big studios figuring out how they want to do things, all the way down to like the independent single screen theaters like us. But movies have always had something looking, they've always been looking over their shoulder at something, whether it was way back when, the coming of sound was going to destroy movies. Radio, TV was going to destroy movies. VCRs were going to destroy movies. There's always been something, and movies endure. The theatrical experience survives time after time again. And, you know, it's there's certainly been impacts with technology and changing from, you know, from something professional like here up in our projection booth, from going from 35 millimeter film to all digital cinema now for people at home as their TVs get bigger and bigger. But there's, I mean, I personally was sitting down watching something the other night, and I remember when I first got the TV I have now, thinking, you know, it was like my first flat screen, thinking this thing is huge and massive, and I cannot believe it's so giant and taking over the living room. And now I look at it, and I'm like, it's not that big. You know, nothing can compare to those 30-foot screens that movie theaters have, or, you know, even bigger and bigger theaters. So, you know, there's always a lot of hand wringing and people forecasting the doom of this or that. But, you know, for over 100 years, movies have survived, and, you know, there's going to be some new challenge right down the road. You know, COVID has put a lot of pressure on a lot of independent theaters and on a lot of film productions. And, you know, we're just now, you know, people are reopening their doors, and we're seeing the audience come back despite all the reasons that people have claimed they have not to come back. But they're still coming, they're still buying popcorn, and they're still watching movies.
So, Tara and Elias, the vitality of an outlet like Images Cinema, how important it is to, again, the independent film and theater and television production.
It's everything. You hope that you're going to see it on the big screen, and people will be able to come together in that community type setting to experience it. Because, like Doug mentioned, it does affect when it's more than one person laughing or crying or whatever the emotion is that you're feeling. There is a pack mentality that kind of, I feel, helps a viewer in a situation like that. And, you know, I also agree with Doug that that's never going to change. There always have been issues with, you know, I love how you worded it. I will leave it at that. But going forward, I mean, I think that cinema will have its challenges, but I don't think it's going anywhere, because everyone loves to go into a movie theater, and I don't want my popcorn, I want theirs.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain like energy in a theater where you could feel what someone else is feeling. And I know, like, you know, people always say, well, you know, I could go to the theater to go see these big, you know, Marvel films. But I mean, I would argue there's really nothing, there's no special effect that's as true and real and you connect to as much as an extreme wide close-up on a screen that big, where you could really see someone's eyes. There's nothing like it. It's not something you could ever experience at home. There's a connection to you, the actor, the audience, and it's really magical. And it is only theaters like, you know, this one that are really standing behind that and standing behind that feeling and highlighting projects which would not normally get highlighted in this kind of a environment. So I'm extremely grateful. Thank you, Doug.
Oh,
and guys, there are literally hundreds of film festivals around the United States, right? And they, in large measure, focus on the indie theaters, right?
There are a lot of film festivals, from the big ones that everyone has heard of to, you know, a lot of great small community film festivals that are doing the work of bringing, you know, independent films, foreign films that people may have never heard of otherwise, bringing those films to their community and kind of opening up everyone's perspective on that. And yeah, I mean, there's a film festival somewhere every day of the week, and they're showing some great works. And it's just a matter of, you know, like, as we were saying before, you know, like giving those opportunities for an audience and a film to come together. And that's what film festivals or independent cinemas are really best at doing. You know, we are that meeting ground.
And I think the other thing to kind of like highlight here is that, you know, there was a point in time when TV and film were just two totally separate things, where you know, TV was one thing and your film was something else. And now, I mean, as you'll see, like, it's really just like a flowing. It's just like you could watch a show or several shows, or you could watch a movie at home. It's a different experience not because so much of the story or the production, but the environment of a theater is just, you know, something very special. So
Elias,
yeah.
Hudson Falls has already won a couple of industry awards, right? And recognitions.
Yeah, it's we're very exciting. We've won about 5 or 6 awards, everywhere from Barcelona to New York. We are screening now at the #1 TV festival in the US called Series Fest. We're gonna play LA Shorts, which is a Oscar qualifying fest. And yeah, we're very excited that, you know, people seem to be connecting with our little story that we, like, you know, shot in 3.5 days for no money with no crew. And it really just goes to show you, like, you know, it's really just about, you know, giving people the opportunity to just, you know, experience a unique story with amazing performances that I think really connects.
Tara Westwood, I know you're involved with a number of other projects and you've got a lot of things going on. You want to just detail some of those for us?
I'm very excited that right now we're in pre-production. We're shooting next week. It's going to be a short film called Triggered, which is a movie about gun violence. It's my directorial debut, which I'm thrilled about. So I'll be in it, producing it. I have a phenomenal team, great cast. We've got Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Caitlin Menner, Bobby Burke, who also is in Hudson Falls. That's my cast. Elias is one of my producers. Ed Lucas is my cinematographer from Los Angeles. He's incredible and the best corner man. And Marie Therese Gerges, who has done a lot of docs. She did MLK, FBI. She's done The Brink and things like that. She's a consulting producer. And we've also got producers on board from Hudson Falls as well, Brett and Kat. And we just have this team. And it's a similar feeling like Hudson Falls in the sense that, you know, it's a low budget. It's a low budget little thing. And it's a passion project. People want to get this film out so we can galvanize the conversation about gun violence prevention. And I'm so thrilled to be doing it. I've learned so much, and we are a week away from rehearsals and then we're shooting, and I'm thrilled.
And you also have, I believe, that you launched during COVID, some sort of book reading for children, right?
Yeah, so normally during regular times when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, and if I'm not on set, I go to a school here in New York City for underprivileged kids, and I read to them. I read to a couple of classes. I spend a couple hours there and I read. And during COVID, unfortunately, obviously, we couldn't do that. So I started sending tapes of me reading so that the kids could still, you know, enjoy having someone read to them. And kind of more importantly, at that point, also, I knew the parents were just under such tremendous stress, suddenly trying to educate their kids at home and needed a break. So I was every couple of days sending tapes of myself. And then I asked friends like John Leguizamo and Dean Winters and a whole bunch of, Jessica Heck did a lot of them, if they could film themselves, send it to me. And then I sent it on to the kids, which they loved, you know, especially someone like John, because he was Sloth and Ice Age. So the kids knew that and they loved that. And then we posted them on YouTube as well with a channel called Let's All Read. And the whole idea, again, was just hoping that kids could have someone read to them and parents could get a break. So that's on YouTube if you search that, Let's All Read.
So Elias Plagianos, independent TV and film producer and director, I want to thank you for being with us. Doug Jones, the executive director of Images Cinema at the Williamstown community, Williamstown, Massachusetts. Thank you for joining us. And Tara Westwood, actress from TV and movies and plays. And Tara, as we close out, I want you to give our viewers a personal invitation about July 21st.
Well, July 21st, I hope that people will come to Images Cinema and check out our pilot, Hudson Falls, and feel good and feel like community in the way that we've all been so hungry for the past year.
This is Danny Frank for GNAT-TV.
What are you doing here?
Working.
I thought the internet would have made your job obsolete. Never know when you're going to get a call for a fedora and a dangling cigarette.